What is up, everybody? Welcome to Party on Broad. Today we are talking Sixers and Birds, talking a little Haason Reddick, talking about our top NFL free agent targets for the Philadelphia Eagles, and then we're going to wrap it up with some B-ball, gushing over Ricky Council IV and our NBA trade deadline grades for the Philadelphia 76ers. Joining us, here's Ryan Reese at Philly Sports PSA. What's good, Ryan?
Not much, man. Got a lot to talk about tonight, regarding a lot of Eagles news and some Sixers stuff. So, yeah, excited.
Absolutely. And then, of course, he is Rob Lange at Philly_Madness. What's good, Rob?
Yeah, man, this is normally a tough time of the year, right? Super Bowl past Sunday. You had a really ended up being a great game. It was boring for about 2.5 quarters and then turned into an unbelievable finish. And it's like, what are you going to do? But, as you guys know more than anybody, the NFL season's 12 months a year now. The Sixers are now going to get close to that playoff push and a lot of different storylines there. So, we're still going to have some fun out here.
Absolutely. Guys, if you're watching us live, comment with us. We'll throw your comment on the screen. Let's talk some Philadelphia Eagles, man. The news of the week by far is Haason Reddick, or the Eagles granting him permission to seek a trade. I'll throw it to you, Rob. Instant reaction.
I think my instant reaction was I'm not surprised. You got a veteran going into the last year of his contract. Probably he's going to want a lot more money. The Eagles are not just going to hand it over to a guy who, is getting near that 30-year-old mark. I think what they did was what any team that just gave a big contract to their quarterback has to start doing. And that's okay. That's the money you want. We can't give you that. Go out on the market, see what you got out there. If something's there, we'll try and make a deal to help you. If not, we're going to have to meet in the middle and come to an understanding on a number. I mean, really, you probably don't want to sign Reddick to much more than a 2 or 3 year extension anyway. I guess. I think that this is just par for the course. I think it was a good move by the Eagles. I think Reddick made a really nice move coming out saying, look, this has nothing to do with hating it here, because when it first happened, you saw everybody jump on that like, oh, it's here we go. The Eagles are falling apart. Reddick doesn't want to be here. And that's not the case at all. This is strictly business. And they did this with Darius Slay last year. People forget. And they ended up releasing Darius Slay. So nothing to me, it's news because it came out on Super Bowl Sunday more than anything else. It's just normal offseason stuff.
Yeah, I was talking about it before we went live. Like, for me, I think they would definitely move on from Haason Reddick, especially if they could get like a second or a third round pick for him. If Nolan Smith actually got the snaps and actually showed that he's ready to go for 2024. That's obviously not the case. But Ryan, what's your take?
Yeah, listen, I think, when I first heard it, it wasn't necessarily that it was shocking. But, again, when you really dive into it, it's kind of almost just a normal part of negotiations. When a player is coming up to that extension, played, really well, obviously didn't have a great year this year as he did last year, but still a top edge rusher in the league, and he wants to be paid like it. It's kind of the back and forth. Hey, see how much money you can get out there. If you can get there and we can make a deal, great. But if not, kind of like Rob said. So it's not necessarily a fun thing to think about life without Haason Reddick. But hopefully, they come to some agreement. But knowing the Eagles, man, they rarely like to pay for guys. In this fashion, they like to find the guy before they become the guy, before this contract. So I could easily see them moving on from Haason Reddick. Now, obviously, as you just put up here, he's obviously going to come out and say never said anything, never asked for a trade. He wants to stay. Philly's my home, blah, 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 blah. Again, part of the back and forth. Make himself look good, make the Eagles look good, and they try to find that happy medium where he can get paid and stay, and Eagles can continue to have a great edge rusher. So
it's just the realities of having the Jalen Hurts contract and the Eagles needing to maneuver especially some assets into other positions going forward, man. They just have to. Real quick, if you had to keep one or the other, Josh Sweat or Haason Reddick, who would it be, Rob?
It's tough because obviously Sweat's younger, but I was very disappointed with the production out of Josh Sweat last year. And from that standpoint, when you say one or the other, you want a Josh Sweat and Nolan Smith, or would you rather Haason Reddick and Nolan Smith? So at the end of the day here, I would say keep Haason Reddick, but I don't blame anyone for saying no. I'm keeping Josh Sweat. He's younger. I understand that totally.
Yeah, Brian, any thoughts?
Yeah, I think honestly, I think I'd keep Haason Reddick. But yeah, I mean, oh man, that's tough because Haason Reddick is older. He's going to be more expensive. But yeah, you worry about Josh Sweat and the lack of production last year. I mean, it was quite a down year, and he just disappeared for months. So I think if I'm going to choose, I'll choose Reddick because listen, Howie's a master with the money. He'll find a way to find a few extra quarters in the couch cushion.
Absolutely. All right, let's roll on to our favorite NFL free agent targets for the Eagles. Who wants to go first?
Okay,
Ryan, you got it, man.
So I did this kind of almost in conjunction with the Haason Reddick news, in case things play out, in a fashion where we end up trading them. We're obviously already in need of some edge. And I think, people, I don't know. I feel like the vibe around town is, we don't really need to be looking at edge. Maybe it's because we have bigger needs in their eyes or whatnot, but it's a very important position that we will need to address in free agency and in the draft. And I could easily see them going early draft with an edge. That being said, in lieu of that, why not go after free agent target? And this is a guy I loved when he first came out. He's been with Carolina, and it's Brian Burns, edge rusher. This dude is an absolute stud. He's been in the league since 2019, and in his 5 years, he has yet to go under 8 sacks. I think he's hit 12. I think he hit 12 last year with his career high. So that's a pretty good production for a guy, and every year having 8+ sacks. So this is certainly a guy that I feel like, again, if you're moving on from Reddick, wouldn't be as expensive as Reddick, but still would be super, super young in comparison. And you could basically get a guy that could give you the potential of Haason Reddick production for, again, somebody that's probably 4 or 5 years younger, and again would be a little bit less expensive, coming off of his rookie contract in Carolina. This is a guy I absolutely love. He's a terror. He's constantly in the backfield with quarterback. And yeah, listen, we love our sacks here in Philly, so why not replace Reddick with Brian Burns? And hell, even if we keep Reddick, I would certainly love to bring a guy like this in here because we could never have enough edge. I mean, we have question marks with Brandon Graham, whether he's coming back or retiring or what the heck's going on. Man, could you imagine Sweat, Reddick, and Burns? I mean, it would just be, offensive linemen wouldn't know what to do. So he's a guy I would definitely love to have here. There's a lot of great edge rushers that are free agents this year that I think Howie is already keeping his eye on and seeing what their market is for sure.
First time Ryan has gone away from the safety position on this series. I am not wavering. I am not wavering. I'm still going to stick to safety. For me, at least. We'll get there when we get there. Go ahead, Rob. Who is your free agent target?
Well, I love that, and I love the idea of the edge. And, I was looking at a bunch of edges, but look, it's no secret that linebackers in need of this team. And I think I said the last time I was on a couple weeks ago, I really hope this team invests in that position this year, whether it be if an early pick in the draft or actually spending some money on a free agent. And to me, there's a guy that I've wanted here for a couple of years. I wanted them to train for at the beginning of last season. And, and that's Devin White of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This guy is young. He's a playmaker. He gets in the backfield. He makes sacks. He can run. I guess he's not the greatest cover linebacker, but he can hold his own out there. I mean, he certainly can hold his own out there. And I just love the tenacious, aggressive mentality that he gives you from the linebacker position, because the Eagles for years, and I mean, God, we're talking about Jeremiah Trotter Jr. this year. I feel like since his father left, we've been having the same freaking battle year after year about when are they going to get this linebacker that can be a game changer, that, is a tenacious on defense. I think Devin White could be that kind of guy. And he's young enough where you could throw some money at him. I would do it not even thinking, because even if the Nakobe Dean comes back, you're talking about a defense under Fangio that's going to have a little bit more 3-4 look to it at times. You're going to need two guys. If Nakobe Dean can come alive, and now you're going to put Dean next to White, I think that's an interesting combination to have there. I would love for them to throw some money at Devin White and that be like their big offseason signing.
Yeah, he's definitely one of my favorite linebackers out in the league. He's 26, I think, about to turn 26. So he's young, he's talented. He is constantly on the ball. He's a great tackler, something that certainly we could certainly use after last year. He forces fumbles, he gets sacks. He is an all-pro linebacker, and somebody that would, again, instantly change the look of that linebacking core for sure.
Yeah, they said it themselves. The Eagles need to get younger and faster on defense, and that would be a good step. The size is a little bit of a concern, but the speed you gotta love, for sure. Just looking at his stats, he only had 2 tackles against the Eagles in that playoff game, but in that week 3 matchup against the Birds, Devin White had 7 tackles and an interception.
That's because the Eagles didn't make it past the offensive or the defensive line in that playoff game, so he didn't really do anything.
Steven, what's going on, man? Says would love to know how the Reddick story even started.
It's put out by his agent, and then he knew already when they put that out he was going to wait a day or two. Because I mean, again, why did he wait a day or two? He could have said it right away. Hey, I didn't say that.
No, they knew they know where the fan base's mentality is right now. They know we're ready to storm the NovaCare with pitchforks and at the drop of a hat. And I mean, it was a smart play, and it was an even smarter play to have Reddick come out and be like, "No, I love it here. This is where I want to retire."
Right, exactly. You get the fans on your side, so it's exactly the play from his side of things to go back to the Eagles and say, "Hey, look, fans love me. They want me here. You got to pay me."
Yep. At this point, I just want someone that can tackle. Jordan Hicks was the last good dude we drafted. And then we also have Alyssa in the house. What's going on, Alyssa? Thanks for joining. Let's roll on to my free agent target. The safety train keeps rolling here. Vic Fangio's defense are best with a strong middle with free flying safeties. It's got to be Xavier McKinney. From the New York Giants, turns 25 years old in August, looking for a raise with his second NFL contract. This guy is extremely reliable. He's excellent at finishing tackles. He played every defensive snap this past season. He had a career best 116 tackles and also just missed 6.5% of his tackle attempts. In fact, he's missed just 7.8% of his tackle attempts over his career. That's 11th best among 89 safeties with at least 100 tackles the last 4 seasons. He's also had 3 interceptions. He had a career high 11 passes defense last year. His 69.8 passer rating against was second best of his career, best since his rookie season. And he was the Pro Football Focus's fourth highest graded safety overall and had the best coverage grade. Why do you like this guy? You look at the Giants and how much they blitzed last season. He's had a crazy degree of difficulty, man. He was often in man coverage. A lot of times during that, Giants cover zero blitzes. And only Antoine Winfield Jr. had a higher percentage of snaps as a single high safety. He has the range to cover deep. He has the coverage ability to stay in man. He has the instincts to read the quarterback's eyes and, break on balls in front of him. But he can also patrol the line of scrimmage and act as an extra linebacker. This is a do-it-all safety that would elevate the Eagles' defense in a big way. The Eagles need to get one of these guys on their defense because you look at Sidney Brown and God knows when he's going to be returning. Reed Blankenship would be best in a rotation as that third safety. But getting a reliable, sound tackling guy that can play a variety of roles for this Eagles defense would be massive. Younger, faster on defense. Xavier McKinney is my guy.
Yeah, I always liked him, especially when he came out of Alabama. And listen, I think, same thing goes with the linebacker that it does for the safeties is you essentially have one guy there. And it's a guy that you'd like for that guy not really to be the starter, to be perfectly honest, if we're all being greedy and whatnot. So, yeah, I think a free agent signing for both linebacking and safety and, an early draft pick, I think you have the ability to literally flip a 180 on both those positions, turn the weakness of your defense into a strength by 2 picks, 2 free agents. And listen, you go with Rob's choice of Devin White, you go with yours of McKinney, you go ahead and draft a Kinchins in the first round. You go ahead with a Cooper in the second round. Bam. Problem solved right there. Vic Fangio has his guys. We got younger. We got faster. I think it's a great plan to fix this defense.
Yeah, they have to really invest safety, linebacker, free agency, draft. We've said it 1,000 times. Let's roll on. Before we get into some hoops, real quick, Super Bowl takeaways. Eagles-centric Super Bowl takeaways. I'll throw it to you, Rob. Like, what did we learn? What should Howie Roseman have learned from this Super Bowl?
Well, one of the things is the secondary matters. And, the Kansas City Chiefs went super young in the secondary this year. And at the end of the day, their defense is why they won the Super Bowl from a whole season standpoint, right? I mean, there were 9 or 10 weeks where that offense could not get the ball moving, and the defense had and the Super Bowl, and you heard Pat Mahomes said it. The Super Bowl was like a microcosm of their season. They couldn't do anything offensively, but the defense was doing just enough to hold them in the game so that all it took was a mistake by the 49ers here, a mistake there. And the next thing you know, now they're moving the ball up and down the field. It's the other thing that I take away from this, because you saw a lot of this on Twitter, and it's, we would have had all these Super Bowls if Andy Reid. People must have forgot what the last year of the Andy Reid era was. Like, it was like, and Andy said it in an interview after the game. He said, I have grown. I have learned. I'm not as pig-headed about things. Like, I don't know, never wanting a wide receiver, or never running the football, stuff like that. But, look, it was a fun Super Bowl. And I tell you, there's one person on San Francisco I felt bad for, and that was Dre Greenlaw, because you never want to see a guy go down like that. That was just horrible. Yeah. But with that said, I laughed myself to sleep Sunday night thinking of Joey Bosa and Deebo Samuel and Brock Purdy and Kyle Shanahan and you name it, because it couldn't have happened to a better bunch of crybabies that they really did a lot to lose that game. Like, stopped running in the third quarter.
Yeah.
For God knows what reason. Amongst other things. But, Howie, it's okay to spend some money on the linebackers and the safeties. It's okay to do that. It's kind of important, you know.
Yeah, when Dre Greenlaw went down, I think Travis Kelce had 1 catch for 1 yard. He ends the game with like 9 catches.
Yeah.
And the last play of the game, they utilized Travis Kelce as a decoy to set up the touchdown. Just
corn dog.
Brilliant.
Corn dog.
Goddamn corn dog. I had like PTSD watching them run that play to win the game because it was literally the same play to kill the Eagles last year.
Same.
Yeah. What about you, Ryan?
Yeah, listen, you know, I want to share the same sentiments as Rob, that this loss couldn't have happened to a better bunch of jerky jerks that ever jerked. I mean, seriously. I mean, I don't know if anybody is tapped in, but the whole world has united on their hate for the San Francisco 49ers. Like it is honestly, it's a beautiful thing. It's something that we haven't seen in this country since probably 9/11, honestly. We're all coming together, and you know, I love it. And I hate the 49ers. I feel like it's like Cowboys, 49ers. They're like right there. They're real close.
That's difficult for me because as a young kid, as a young kid, I had Steve Young, Ricky Waters, Jerry Rice, Joe Montana. Like I loved the San Francisco 49ers. Loved them.
Yeah.
You know, like I have violations from my childhood as an Eagles fan where I was supporting San Francisco when I was really young. And now it's like I despise them so much. I loved every minute of them losing that game.
Yeah, Debo crying. It was
they didn't know the overtime rules. That was great.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Like couldn't have happened. Well, we didn't know about him. Yet Kansas City, you know, said, yeah, we talked about it in the preseason and we did it throughout the year and we went over it like twice this week. Like, and Kansas City had no idea. Explains them to a T, and I love it. I absolutely love it. But yeah, listen, I think you know, as Aaron kind of pointed out here below, it does show that Kansas City is kind of great, or has been at least the last couple of years, in drafting their young defensive backs. I mean, you know, Ladarius Sneed, you know, obviously, man, why am I blanking on his name?
Trent McDuffie.
Yes, and just honestly, they're really good, and yeah, McDuffie is somebody that I definitely wanted to. But yeah, listen, Howie just again, I think they got their picks in, and we just need to get ours, and we have a bunch in the first couple of rounds, and if we need to, you know, boom, 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 here, a couple free agents, let's, you know, we have a chance to rebuild this defense, and it can be done. Kansas City is living proof that it can be done in one season to completely change your defense from a mediocre to an all-pro type defense.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of the guys already. We just need to fill in those gaps. And that starts with linebackers, that starts with safeties, and that starts with getting some depth overall everywhere else. And we have the depth at corner already, so don't really need to tap that. But yeah, it can be done.
Also, the big difference between the Eagles and the Chiefs is that the Chiefs actually play their young players all season instead of finding Band-Aids and throwing them into the fire at the end of the season. The Chiefs, the last 2 years, have been building this thing the right way. So just major credits to them. Some comments real quick before my take. Aaron says, man, I wanted Trent McDuffie. Is so damn good. Big Dom put a mouth.
He was there. He was on the sideline.
That was awesome that he was on the Chiefs sideline. Phenomenal.
I rooted for San Francisco because they had 2 South Jersey guys in Dwight Hicks and John Taylor back in the day. I remember I had the Jerry Rice 100th touchdown poster in my bedroom.
Nice.
I don't know if you remember that, but awesome poster. Mr. Rudy Poo says, I mean, the Chiefs have a Hall of Fame defensive coordinator. My take is this, and it goes to Patrick Mahomes and his ability to handle pressure. That was the most pressure I've seen Mahomes face, especially in that first half. He was pressured 22 of 55 dropbacks, but he still averaged 7.2 yards per pass attempt. Just one turnover-worthy play, which was the interception. He completed 9 of his 17 pressured passing attempts, made 2 throws. And that's just something I want to see grow and get better from Jalen Hurts and this Eagles offense moving forward. Because, I mean, you talk about motion and how it just opens up so many different things. Obviously, everybody knows the Eagles were dead last in pre-snap motion last year. But that last play of the game when they utilized motion to open up Hardman for that touchdown, man, that's it, man. That's what I want to see from this Eagles offense. Just Jalen Hurts adjusting to the blitz, getting back to 2022 Hurts, and then more motion because we saw Shanahan, his offense and getting guys the ball in space. We saw Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, there's only one Patrick Mahomes, but finding those mismatches and exploiting them, I really want to get back to that kind of football. And that's what made this Eagles offense so dynamic was Hurts' legs, the RPOs, and making defenses guess wrong over and over and over again. Mr. Rudy Poo says, I would definitely trade Reddick for a second to the Texans. PFF had that out there. I might do that. Rob. Rob, you're shaking your head.
Well, I may trade him for a second, but I'm not trading him for 59. If I'm trading for a second, I want it at the top end. If you look at someone put a tweet out there today talking about the top linebackers sack numbers and guys that have been traded and what they've been traded for. One was a first rounder, one was a top of the second rounder, and Haason Reddick's had more sacks over the last 2 years than both of them. So to me, that's the starting point. It's been there. You've seen it. Linebackers that have gotten moved in the last couple of years. Yeah, I mean, look, I would trade him for a sec, but like if it's going to be middle to end of the second round, I'd have to. I don't know if I'm doing that yet. I don't.
Yeah.
Would you do it for like a second and a third?
Man, now you're giving that day two. Even though you guys know the draft better than I do, but just doing a couple mock drafts, I'm really loving day two. I think there's a lot of talent on day two.
Sure. Day two is loaded with safeties and linebackers. That's so
like you're going to give me 2 more day two picks. So now that the Eagles are drafting 5 times on day two, that may be tough to pass up because you're talking about maybe, a safety, a linebacker, a corner, like all of a sudden you're filling holes left and right. But it'll be interesting. I don't know how they end up playing this. We'll have to wait and see what happens there.
Yeah. Aaron says if Andy had a Hall of Fame quarterback when he was in Philly, he would have won a Super Bowl.
Is that a McNabb? Yeah, it's definitely McNabb. Aaron, love it.
Mr. Rudy Poo says last year's team looked like they lost passion for the game. They quit, man. There's no way around it. Yeah. They straight up quit. This was the first truly earned zero blemish Super Bowl victory for Kansas City. The others had so much questionable garbage going on. I thought it was just a phenomenal game.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I won't lie. I was bored early on. I was bored early on. Like, and I just
was amazing.
You know what it was? I didn't like the way Kansas City was playing. I didn't really. I mean, they were, Patrick Mahomes looked lost at a point. He looked lost at a point. But I love how they rebounded and took advantage of mistakes and made things happen. But before we get on, the best video of the post-game celebration after they leave the stadium is 100%. There's a video where they're zooming in on Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift dancing and kissing, and it's great. It's this loving moment. And then all of a sudden the camera pans to a big Rey Mysterio Jr., also known as Jason Kelce, with that marshmallow head DJ just breaking it down. It was one of the single great. And, a lot of people said, oh, what's he doing? Like he's one of the team. Come on, man. Like that's who they are. Like they are brothers. He found an excuse to go out and get drunk and have a good time. Yeah. I ain't mad at Jason Kelce for wearing the wrestling mask and going out, but it was just so funny because like this loving moment, and then you just pan, and it's just like the guy that all of us would be at the bar and go, look at this idiot, and there he is, big Jason Kelce doing Kelce things.
Only makes you love him more. Honestly, it only does.
Rudy Poo says the best video was Debo walking off.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Love it.
Yeah,
I absolutely love it. Let's roll on to some basketball talk. Right up here, we got to go first impressions with Ricky Council the fourth, who's showing that he can be a real rotation player for the Philadelphia 76ers. Leading off with this quote, which had me all jacked up, all sorts of jacked up. After he hit some clutch free throws against the Cavs, I was like, this is the moment I've been waiting for. It's exactly what I said to myself. Big shots to help us beat the number 2 team in the East at the moment. I wanted those so bad. All I could think about was Ben Simmons and how many times that dude has choked in big moments, not wanting the ball to score, not wanting to get to the free throw line. Ricky Council Jr. has been just phenomenal. He looks like he's just a Philly player, man. Yeah. I'm going to throw up his game log. Obviously, he's young. He's a 3-and-D prospect. But the amount of growth we have seen from Ricky Council, especially offensively, has been remarkable. I mean, you look at these last 2 games, 29 minutes, 21 minutes. He's getting boards. He's fighting for loose balls. He's playing good defense. I will say it right now. He's better than Marcus Morris. And I think he can be a guy that they give time throughout the rest of this season. And I'm hoping that he could be a guy that makes an impact in the playoffs. This is what I want. This is what I've wanted from Doc the last several seasons. Like, grow these guys, let them play. And this guy might be a diamond in the rough. Like, the growth we have seen from him in college to now is more than I have seen from Jaden Springer in 3 years. That's how far he's come as an offensive basketball player. Rob, any takes on Ricky Council?
Yeah, it's funny. You know, you go back to the game against Washington. I was watching the game, and as I'm watching it, I'm like, man, this Ricky Council, he deserves to play more. He's really good. And then I was like, I caught myself and said, whoa, it's Washington. Like, don't go crazy here. Washington is god awful. Like, KJ Martin looked really good against Washington too. You know, but then you watch him against Cleveland, and his stats may not be as great as they were against Washington, but his tenacity at getting to the rim, whether he has the ball or he's going in for a rebound, he's longer than I realized. You know, when you see him on the court, he's a little bit longer than I thought he was. I think that the defense, you know, he's already, I think, further along. I mean, offensively, he's leaps and bounds above what Jaden Springer was, obviously. And I think the defense get there. And I think you're right, Dibes. He's a guy that Nick Nurse is going to give time this regular season not have done. And hopefully that means in the playoffs he can come in and be a wing defender for you. You know, it was exciting to see him play like that. I mean, and Dibes, you called it again. He's a Philly type of player. He's got a little dog in him. I mean, he stepped to that line. There wasn't any hesitation from him and knocked him down. I mean, shit, Tyrese Maxey comes down the very next possession and misses one of the two. You know, and that's not what you expect. But Ricky Council steps up there and just like, yeah, I'm good. Yeah, you got me. You got me.
So cut that one out.
Hit me with the, that's what she said on that. Do whatever the hell you got to do. You got me. I was just watching a show the other day where a guy made like 6 of those types of mistakes in one paragraph. It was pretty funny. You know, so yeah. And I mean, look, it's exciting because, and we're going to talk about the trade deadline soon, so I don't want to go too much into it, but coming off of that, I didn't really know what they were thinking. I didn't know what the plan was. But if Ricky Council is going to benefit from this and he's going to give you that type of production, hey, I'm all for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Some comments real quick before we get to Ryan. C4 is a great name for Council. A lot of Council people in the chat, which I'm loving.
It's the Philadelphia way, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, who was it? Corey Brewer that had the one game against Harden. He was a folk hero for like 10 days until his contract expired.
Yeah, and you like, Council hit those free throws with zero hesitation. We would love a 12 deep bench if Glenn didn't have Morey, Axe, Joe, Bassier, Julian Champagny. Oh my gosh. Martian, like, this cannot happen. Watch Council get the Isaiah Joe treatment from the Sixers. That would destroy me. Everyone knows I was a huge Isaiah Joe guy all the way during his days back in Arkansas. He may not be that tall, but Nurse is using Council like Boucher on the Toronto Raptors. Springer BS is a joke. Zero offensive game. Slow AF with the ball. Can only jump with 2 feet. Council was a dog. Even when he wasn't playing, he was always the first one hyping the team from the bench. Springer may play 3 minutes a game for Boston in the playoffs. The city of backups. That's the one thing. This Philadelphia loves their backups, man.
Ooh.
No doubt. And we overreact. We overvalue. We'll get into trade deadline soon, but I have a take on that. But Ryan, what's your take on Ricky Council IV?
Yeah, listen, this is kind of a feel-good story for the 76ers fans, and it comes at a time when, listen, that we're clinging to anything that we can. I mean, Embiid's out. Somebody said, I forget who it was off the top of my head, but they were like, man, does anybody realize that the NBA is pretty damn boring without Embiid? Like, it kind of is. I'm not gonna lie. And especially for a Sixers fan. So, listen, this kid is kind of lightning in a bottle, man, and it's great to see. He's aggressive. He just has a knack for scoring. I mean, he will obviously put up points, and I'm loving the fact that he's able to get these minutes now. And with some of the trades that we recently did, it kind of opens up this spot for him and see what he can do with it. And so far he's doing pretty good. So I'd love for him to keep that train rolling and again, kind of almost kind of like how we talked about the Eagles, where you have these young guys that weren't getting a lot of minutes, and it's important for these young players to get out on the field and get NBA minutes, like true NBA minutes. And I mean, again, he spent a lot of time down with the G League, but he is flourishing now with the NBA minutes, and I just really just want to see what he can do and continue to do with some minutes there, and maybe be able to provide a nice bench piece for come playoff time.
Yeah, here's his game log with the Blue Coats this year. I just remember watching this guy when we were doing like tons of coverage during the summer league with Sean, and you could see like he looks like an NBA player, like the shoulders, like the athleticism, but the offensive game wasn't even close. But look at this 3-point shooting from Ricky Council IV, man, like multiple games with multiple threes. He shot 40% with the Blue Coats from 3-point range. It's right on this column right here. Like here's the game, like 6 out of 10, 4 of 11, 4 out of 6. Love what I'm seeing from him offensively. That's where he's going to improve. I think defensively he's very, very good already. Martian says if Simmons had Council's heart, he'd be an MVP candidate. Payne and Hield both creating shots off the dribble is so foreign to the last 6 years of Sixers ball. Hield is a better creator than I ever expected.
Yeah.
The way he's been moving the ball in the pick and roll, especially with Paul Reed, he's got like 20 assists the last 3 games. His assist percentage is like 27%. His career before the Sixers was like 13%. Dude, listen, I watch the Sixers. I don't really watch the NBA beyond that. And I did not expect Buddy Hield to look that good with the ball in his hands.
Yeah, no, agreed. I think in Indiana, I think the focus was so much on Halliburton. I think he benefited from that and not
Yeah.
having to create that own shot. And he had a lot of nice open looks in Indiana. And I'm not
Yeah.
saying that he certainly wouldn't here, but he's kind of again forced to do a little bit more than maybe he was in Indiana. And I think because of that, he's showing that he has that ability, and clearly it's working for him right now. So,
and if you think about it, even when he was in Sacramento, you're talking about Fox dominating the ball. So
sure.
There's opportunities weren't there for him. But I know we're about to get into all this stuff, so I'll hold.
Mr. Rudy Poo says, I'm not blaming the fan base and the Sixers employed players who can shoot but won't shoot. Forget a shoot. Yep. We're going to get into that soon. I really thought Fultz was the player to complete the process. I don't really want to talk about that. Zaire Smith talk. Let's not get into that. 86 last game. Hield looked like a rookie.
What is happening?
Yeah. Hield looks crazy. Good with the ball in his hands. Maxey is what Fultz was supposed to be. Absolutely. Let's get into our Sixers trade grades here from the NBA trade deadline. 4 big moves. Number 1, Marcus Morris, Korkmaz, and 3 second-rounders for Buddy Hield. Number 2, Daniel House and a 2nd-round pick to the Pistons. Number 3, Pat Bev to the Bucks for campaign and a 2027 2nd-round pick. And then number 4, Jaden Springer to the Boston Celtics for a 2024 2nd-round pick. Rob, you weren't on this show the week prior, and I was hoping you would, but things kind of fell as I thought they would. I predicted it on this show. And I'll be the first one to say I'm shocked Morey went through with that. Getting rid of some vets and opening up cap space and making those moves. I didn't think he would have the balls to do it, but here we are. It was the right move. I feel like a lot of Sixers fans overvalued guys like Pat Bev and Marcus Morris and even Jaden Springer, who I love. I enjoyed watching Jaden Springer, but he's been in the league for how long? And and believe me, I'm not a Morey supporter whatsoever. And that's a whole other conversation. But it was the right move to get some better fits on the roster. And I don't know what that means for this team moving forward this season. And do I have confidence that Morey can rebuild this team in free agency or trades this summer? No, I do not. But for now, I do believe it was the right moves. Rob, what would you grade the Sixers trade deadline?
Well, it's funny, I broke my own damn Cardinal rule on the day of the trade deadline, and it made instant reactions to things without really knowing what was going on. Like, obviously, I was very happy with the Buddy Hield trade. I think I was one of the guys in the offseason. I think one of my things was trade for Buddy Hield. And I think a lot of Sixers fans have wanted Buddy Hield here for 3 or 4 years. So I was very happy about that. I was one of the people, as Dibes just mentioned, and, I'm man enough to admit it, who overreacted to the trading of Pat Bev. My reasoning behind that in the moment was, okay, I understand Pat Bev is not the greatest player in the world, but he's the only leader/dog you have here. And I'm not really sure what are your intentions now? You just traded for Buddy Hield, who's only on an expiring contract. So you obviously think Embiid's coming back, but now you're getting rid of a guy like Pat Bev. Then I'm sitting there going, and with that said, I did not really believe Campaign was a good basketball player. He has totally surprised me at the way he handles the ball and gets to the basket and can shoot a little bit. I was very unaware of Campaign, so I was very naive to him. When the Jaden Springer thing happened, again, I was just like, wait a minute, are we selling or are we trying to compete? Like, I really couldn't figure it out. My thing with Pat Bev was, if your thought process, which it seems to be, was, okay, Pat Bev's out, we're going to sign Kyle Lowry to take those few minutes a game that Pat Bev maybe would have gotten now that we have Buddy Hield on Campaign. I'd rather have Pat Bev right now. That's just me. I mean, I love the story. I love when guys come back to Philadelphia. They were born, and Kyle Lowry's a Philly guy. I mean, through and through, he's a Philly guy. But, as far as I'm concerned, he's cooked. Now, maybe he surprises me, and for 6, 7, 8 minutes a game, he gives you something. I don't know. But I would have rather that been a Pat Bev type of get in the face of the other team's best player. But with that said, if you don't trade Pat Bev, you don't have campaign. And, so far, Morey looks like he took a couple risks there. But, do they pan off? Do they hold down the fort while we await if Joel Embiid is going to make his return or not?
Yeah, it's interesting. We're only one game away from the All-Star break. And if you would ask me like a few days ago, season's over. But the last couple of games have been kind of impressive. Campaign's a really good shooter. He's a much better passer than I expected. Hield is a much better creator than I expected. The fits for Joel next year are really intriguing. And I like the idea of Lowry to kind of give Maxey a break with the ball in his hands and let him thrive a little bit off ball. Noom says B+. Don't discount Halliburton's impact on Hield. Martin says, judging what I've seen so far from Hield and Payne, giving an A grade. Sixers did well to clear the colon, which can have unexpected positive additional impacts. We've got some more Ricky Council love. Morey analytics hit with 2 players with a history of solid play and got overshadowed by different situations. It pains Dives to give a grade above a B+ to Morey. It does. I'm not a Morey fan. Morey is covering his ass to give him as many options as possible right now this summer, whether that's free agency, whether that's trade, whether that's a potential rebuild and trading Embiid, which they will not. But it's definitely at least possible. They have so many moves they can make.
My question is, I look at Buddy Hield. Was this trade made with the idea that if it fits, they're going to give him a multi-year deal to keep him here, sign Maxey to the long term, right? Because that's when all the money's going to come off the books next year, that you could do that and still go out and maybe get another player. Like, I started to think like, okay, even if this, like you just said, even if this isn't the year, maybe the Buddy Hield trade wasn't just for a half a year. It was for this, and then to get the contract for another 3 years of Buddy Hield.
Yeah, Hield is like, you just watch it. The gravity he has on offense is massive. Like you can just in theory see how pitch perfect Hield is going to be with Embiid. He's like a steroid version of JJ Redick.
Yeah.
The way he can fly off screens and shoot and space. My God, if that creation ability, ball handling, pick and roll ability is there as well. Holy cow. He is definitely here to stay. I think that was the big move to kind of get him acclimated and start working on a deal, because Hield is he's always been just a great fit for the Philadelphia 76ers. Ryan, what's your take?
Yeah, listen, I think on the surface of things, when things first happened, I think some of them were a little confusing. Again, it was kind of like, all right, well, you're trading Pat Bev to a conference rival for, Payne, and honestly, I've liked Payne since his Phoenix days. So I'm glad that he's come in so far and really seemed to work. But and then the Springer to Boston, again, a little confusing. But when you kind of take a step back and you kind of see what Morey was planning, he's planning for this year, he's planning for next year, cleaning out, as somebody said earlier, cleaning out the colon, if you will, and getting ready to clean out some more space for next year for hopefully in a big time addition. I mean, you absolutely will have the money to give Maxey the bump, to give Hield a 2 or 3 year deal, which I think Sixers fans have been clamoring for Hield for how many years, and I'm glad it's working. It's clearly working. So I think Embiid, Hield, Maxey, and some maybe a potential free agent really could be the fit for next year. But I think again, if you kind of slow play Embiid, get him to 100%, get him a little, shake off the rust before playoffs. Maybe that's the magic touch is, get him as healthy as possible right before the playoffs, and hope freak things don't happen like they have before. And maybe that's our key to success and making a long run. But I like Hield, I like Payne, Lowry again. Yeah, hey, that would have been great 10 years ago. But still, it's a nice story. If he can give you a few minutes, I think the fact that he's back with Nick Nurse, I'm hoping that might be something to unlock the. I forget the way Rob, mentioned Lowry as far as not having nothing in the tank, but maybe this gets him to a quarter of a tank a little bit. But yeah, listen, I like what Morey did. I'd give it an A-. I think he did good for this year. He did good for the future. And yeah, let's see when Embiid comes back, what we can do with this team, because honestly, I like our chances.
Yeah, a lot of people forget that like Morey didn't pick Doc Rivers. Morey didn't pick Tobias Harris. This is going to be his first summer of like literally. Now he dug himself in a lot of different holes, but
sure.
He gets to finally kind of make his mark on his team. We'll see if he can do it. I don't know.
And keep in mind, they're still playing without DeAnthony Melton, without Nico Batum. Robert Covington, I feel like, has been out all season. And Tobias Harris was out last night, and he's going to be out again tomorrow. So they're playing banged up, but they're still, they've won a couple games here. And I mean, yes, Washington is Washington, but they just beat the hottest team in the NBA on their floor without all these guys, without Joel Embiid, with a couple guys that have been here for a week. I mean, that's pretty damn impressive if you ask me.
Yeah, and their schedule, this comment by Dave is excellent. Is with the big man out, the team does not play defense. That is going to hurt them moving forward. Their schedule is pretty rough.
And they have what, 2 roster spots open right now as well? Like, what? Yeah. Is there anybody out there from a big standpoint that's even worth signing?
I don't even know. But you look at it like Miami, New York, Cleveland, Milwaukee, Boston, Dallas, New York, Milwaukee, Miami, Phoenix, Lakers, Clippers. Like their lack of rim protection is going to be really bad. It's like they're going to have to really shoot the lights out.
By the way, we've got maybe the single greatest, and I'm going to credit a couple people online, including our good friend Austin Krell. But Kyle Lowry is going to be wearing number 7. That's already been decided.
Okay.
Mo Bamba is changing to number 5. So, ladies and gentlemen, as Austin said, we now have Bamba number 5. It's now the greatest nickname in the city. And I feel like that adds at least a block a game to that guy's stats, because he's going to be Bamba number 5. So
I mean, if they don't play that song,
just take it for what it's worth.
Yeah, they don't play that song every game. It'll be lost.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Everybody in the car, so come on, let's ride.
Oh wow. Boy,
come on, man! That's a great song. That's a great song.
I mean, it's a song that is catchy. That's what I would give it. I cannot put the word great in front of it. I will not put the word great in front of it.
No, it's a song.
It's a song.
It's a song.
Marshall says LeBron is Moore's whale this summer. I have seen that. Hield equals bye-bye to Toby. There's so much chatter about bringing Toby back on a lesser contract. I want 0 parts of that. Come on, man. Stop.
Yeah, you know what? I'd bring him back for $2 million.
Yeah, on a vet min.
Yep.
Minimum. Harris looks like a total slug. I think, everyone's getting sick. I feel like we can wrap it up. I got a
conspiracy theory. I'm sorry. I got a conspiracy theory on the illness this year in the NBA. Has
Okay.
it not seemed like, not just with the Sixers, there have been way more out for illnesses this year in the first year of the you can't rest the guy thing?
Maybe.
I mean,
Yeah, maybe.
it's been unbelievable. I mean, unless Tyrese Maxey has the worst immune system known to man, he's been sick 6 times this year. Like, is he going to my son's daycare? Because they're the only such as players in the NBA this year. Like, I'm telling you, that's the new rest day. Is illness.
wow.
You know, what are they going to do? Show us the thermometer? Like, they're not going to ask you for that. Like, it's just not going to happen. I think the
That's good.
illness is the new rest day. I do.
To be
Good.
fair, he's playing the most minutes of his career.
Fair enough. I'm okay with it. I'm just saying this is the loophole people are finding in this. You can't just rest starters or stars.
I mean, he's out there a lot. He's getting exposed to a lot more players, more opportunities to catch a cold. I don't know.
Yeah, listen, I think the NBA needs to get in with emergency and make sure these players are taking
I've
one
never seen
before every
illness
game.
pop up more in my life. It's been unbelievable.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, we're wrapping up. We're almost an hour in, which we never do on this show.
No.
That's
Pretty
rare. But let's wrap it up. Rob, final thoughts, Sixers, Eagles. Time's yours.
I think the times are more exciting than what they were, say, a couple weeks ago. I do for the Sixers, especially right now, the playing. But I like the way the Eagles attacked the early part of the offseason. They got in there, they got the coaches that they wanted in those positions, and they're going to roll. And I'm not saying it's going to look great, but I think the NFL can turn around very quick. You can turn things around in a year. We've seen it time and time again. So there's no reason to believe that with the right moves, Eagles can't get back to where they need to be pretty quickly here. And then, listen, just watch the Sixers right now and enjoy the good and shake your head at the bad. But, hope that I really want to see Joel come back this year, maybe with 10 games left in the regular season to shake off the rust, go into the playoffs. If the Sixers can avoid the play-in, I'll be happy. Honestly, if they can avoid the 7, 8, 9, or 10, I will be happy. It doesn't matter where they are, in my opinion.
That's literally what the Sixers need to do. They just need to float. They just need to maintain and kind of float and stay out of that play-in. But I would think about that deal really hard.
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
You wouldn't do that deal?
No.
Oh man.
Listen, as much as I think Surtain is a great player, I think that's a lot to be giving up for not a top 3 position in need for us right now, personally.
Okay. It's weird. I think cornerback's a huge need. I think Slay's on his last year. I think we're maybe overrating Keely Ringo at this point. I love Surtain. I think he's.
I did too. I would do, if you want to do just straight up pick 22, sure. But with Reddick, that's a lot. It's a lot.
There's a lot, no question. All right, Ryan, final thoughts.
Yeah, listen. I think we've certainly talked about it a lot. But the Eagles have an opportunity to kind of pull a Kansas City Chiefs in a way. A great team with a lot of talent that needs some help on defense, and we have an abundance of picks. And I think we have a decent amount of money, or at least we can get ourselves a decent amount of money, and through free agency and some early draft picks, I think we can fix some of the holes on this defense and really kind of reclaim this as an entire team, defense, offense, the whole 9 yards. 2 new coordinators. This team is going to look very different, and I just hope Howie, as much as I know that they love their trenches, I hope they slightly avert from that just to kind of help some of these big holes that are starting to look a lot wider, given the last year or so. Sixers, listen, you have an ability to make the Embiid less NBA fun, get some wins, as you said, stay afloat. We don't have an official date for Embiid to come back. Obviously, I think a lot of people are even suspecting him not even to come back. But I don't think they would have made these moves with knowing that he wasn't planning on coming back. So, yeah, I could see him kind of taking a little bit long, maybe come back 2 weeks before the NBA is over and shake a little rust off. And
End of March. You heard it here first.
there you go, end of March. Well, what's the playoffs start? Usually beginning of May, right? End of April.
April. Yeah.
Yeah.
April,
So
middle
yeah, I
of
mean
May.
that's kind of right around my timeline a little bit, but yeah. So listen, just hold on. I think they got the bullets in the gun to do it. So stay in that top. If they can stay in that top like 4 or 5, it'll be fun for the playoffs for sure. So
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you everyone for watching. We are over an hour, which is by far our longest show in a while. Guys, if you're still hanging with us, please be sure to smash that like button.
yeah.
Usually we record on Monday nights at 9:00. But tonight we're doing Tuesday. We'll be back Monday talking Eagles and Sixers as usual. Go give Ryan a follow on X at Philly Sports PSA, and he is Rob Lange at Philly_Madness. Thank you everyone for watching. We'll catch you on Monday. Stay awesome.